this journey we'll guide inside the ride where we fly. Virtual roads touch the sky. Join us here, don't be shy. Inside the ride, yeah, we hide.
Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Ride by MyWhoosh. This is episode 15. I'm flying solo today. I am on my own. Matt Smithson, though, will be back next week, of course, and then we can start talking about new updates, new features, all that exciting stuff, maybe some new worlds as well, which I know we've hinted at in the past. It's not entirely true that I am flying solo today, because, of course, I am going to have a guest on today. We're going to have James from OTR in later on, so we're going to talk to James about all his events, his own racing history, and of course, that event that I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, which is the Tour de Monde, which is going to be starting, I think it's the 1st of January, in fact. So we're going to have a deep dive into that and how you can get involved, whether that be as an individual or as a team. But let's talk about what's been going on in the platform in the last week. Of course, we had Zach Neer on last week. We talked all things coaching, sports science, heat training. There was all sorts. And as I've said before, we are going to have Zach back on the show on a really regular basis. The plan at the moment is to try and get him on at least once a month. And then again, he can answer any questions that you have. If there's a specific event you're training for, if there's an area of your fitness or your strength that you want to improve, feel free to drop those questions through to myself or Zach on those social channels. Hashtag Inside the Ride. I'm going to make this hashtag an actual thing moving forward. Drop us a message and we'll answer those questions in future shows. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I did this weekend, because I raced this weekend. First time in a little while I raced the Echelon Racing League. That was in California, and it was on the Golden Gate Bridge. Really interesting race, really dynamic racing as well, because I don't know if you guys know the course, but there's sort of one climb in the center. I think it's the Hawk Hill climb or the Hawk climb, only a kilometer, and it's a couple of minutes, really punchy, 3 laps. It made for such a dynamic race. If you've not seen the coverage yet, head over to MyWhoosh YouTube pages and go and check out the coverage of the elite men and the elite women. Really interesting racing. Watching some of those riders sort of extend the gap on the climb, but then riders coming back again and again on the flatter section made it really interesting. I was one of those riders. I raced the B category, not the elites, just to be super clear there. But again, I think it was the second lap round. I let a little lap go, just a little gap go, should I say, just 100 meters from the top. Got gapped a little bit further on the descent. I think there was like a leading group of 8 or 9 riders. And then I spent the next 4 or 5 kilometers chasing back on. Another rider joined me, but we did manage to close. So again, really interesting. If you know those dynamics, you know how to hit those rollers, and again, you just know how to ride and work with another teammate or another rider on the road, you can close gaps. And it was really interesting. Again, watch the ladies racing. I think it was Tidholm, the Swedish rider there. Again, got gapped on that climb, but every single lap pulled it back. Even on that final lap, tried to roll over the top of the other. I'm not going to spoil it all for you. Go and check it out, but it made for some dynamic racing. And again, Echelon Racing back, I think not this weekend, the weekend after. That's a Saturday. Go and check that out. That's Alcatraz A-Well. It's a very similar course. The climb is a little bit longer, but it's not as consistent, I would say. There's sort of 2 staged climbs. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name of that climb. We'll wait till we get Matt in to do that. But go and check that out. It's not too late to get involved with the Echelon Racing League. Just go and check out echelonracingleague.com. You can still sign up and get involved. Plenty more racing to be had. And of course, there's elites, the B category and the C category. I think the C category is anything below 3.3 watts per kilogram. Category B, for myself, anywhere between 3.3 and 4.3, I think it was there. And if you're above 4.3, you're elite, and you've got to go and race with those big boys there or those big girls there and try and hold some of those watts. Again, the men's racing, just absolutely epic. One rider, I'm not going to name names, he went off the front from the gun pretty much and miraculously stayed away there. Just sat at threshold, stayed away, while the other chasing riders played around, and it was all about second, third, and those minor places. But of course, the other big racing that they had this weekend was SRC. It was qualifying race 2, and I do want to take a look at some of the results there. No, we're not going to be looking at the Tour de Monde, of course. We're going to be looking at the Sunday Race Club Qualifier 2 results first of all. So the men's race, this was also in California, as you can see there. And there's that climb, that Mount Umarinhon climb. I'm going to ask my guest later on to have a go at that pronunciation of that climb as well. But you can see Hawk Hills climbers there. It was Jason Osborne and Michael Vink in the men's race, just separated by 30 seconds on this second qualifying race of December. Of course, this the final month of the year before we start afresh there in January. Again, not too late to get involved in Sunday Race Club. I think that's a really good thing. If you're listening to this podcast, you've done your Power Passport test, you signed up to the Echelon Racing League, you should be getting involved in SRC. Different style of racing, always dynamic again. Make sure you've got your climbing legs on, although this course is a little bit more rolling as well. Suited me quite nicely, although I didn't race this time around. Ollie Jones picking up third, and it's great to see Leonard Tugals racing once again and the elite side of the Sunday Race Club. So there we are with the men's. Let's take a quick look at the ladies qualifier here. And again, it was our UCI World Champion Mary Kate McCarthy taking the win there. Average watts, 4.5 watts per kilogram. They were down in Australia just under the hour for that one. Gabriela Aguirre there picking up second place. These two ladies have been having some major battles over the last couple of weeks. And again, if you get a chance, if you're not racing on a Sunday, go and watch the racing for Sunday Race Club. In particular, I think the ladies racing, because it's been super dynamic. And watch these two ladies battle it out for the last couple of Sundays has been absolutely phenomenal. Of course, they also battled it out first and second with the UCI World Championships just a few weeks back there in Abu Dhabi. Molly Bruni picking up third there for Germany, and Kristen Kolczynski also there in fifth. So really super dynamic racing this weekend in SRC also. Also, don't forget, of course, you can visit MyWhoosh.com for all of those results. I'm going to take this moment, though, to talk about, of course, this community initiative that we mentioned before with our friend Jakob, or Jacob there with the MyWhooshinfo.com. If you've not seen this yet, you've not, go and check this out, go and check it out. All the results there for SRC. More and more, we're seeing the results from the other events on the platform as well. And I know our guest has got the OTR events there. Get a little bit of clue of who our guest is. Has got his events on there as well. And I think there's some league and series initiatives happening over there on MyWhooshinfo.com. And I've seen the league rankings now for Echelon, OTR, and of course, I think it's the Polish Racing League set up there as well. The other thing I found this week, which is super interesting as well, because I was doing the recon for SRC and the Echelon Racing League, is you can find the segment times. I wanted some of the segment time for Hawk Hills and a few of the other climbs. You can actually find the historical segment times and the leaderboards for some of those key segments as well, which is super, super cool. Don't forget, we did discuss this last week. I actually found out some additional information. We've got the MyWhoosh 300 coming very, very soon. That's going to start on January the 1st. December 25th through to January the 1st, we have the MyWhoosh 300. An opportunity for everyone to get involved. I think 300 kilometers, I said this last week, is one of those distances that it's achievable. Whether you're an elite, whether you're an aspiring elite like me, or in the category 3 rider, or whether you're just here to get fit and have some fun along the way. The MyWhoosh 300 kilometers, between those dates, you could do it free riding. You could do this doing live coaching sessions, training plans. You can, of course, go and join the OTR Tour de Monde, which we're going to talk about very soon. It'd be a great warm-up for that event as well. And the other really cool thing, which I only realized when the social post went out, is that the reward is 150 gems. Gems, of course, hold some value in game. And the key thing there is you could purchase the next season pass with 150 gems. So really great reason to go and crack on and get the MyWhoosh 300 done. And we can celebrate that achievement also together. The other event that I do want to talk about, because I know people keep asking me about this, and it is going to start. It's going to start this coming Monday. Monday, the 16th of December, is the elimination race. Now, it is going to be called the Elimination Beta Racing initially. We're going to do round 1 on the UCI Stage 1 course. So you know this route. Absolutely pan flat. It's like 1.7 kilometers long, so it's going to be pretty punchy. Lots of repeated efforts. The plan, the first time round with this elimination race, we've done plenty of test racing so far, is to have 10 laps with 10% of the field basically the back end, the back 10% of that field removed each lap. So then we'll get down to the final 10, and then it'll be mano battle across the finish line for those top 10 finishing positions. Elimination racing, always exciting. I call it devil takes the hindmost in the UK, but I know a lot of people call this elimination racing. Go and check it out. Monday the 16th. It is going to be in the evening. I think we're aiming for 6 p.m. in the evening UK, so 7 p.m. Central European time. Go and check that out. No need to pre-register. You could just turn up and have a go at this new elimination racing. Right, that's enough for me. I've flown solo for long enough. I think it's time to bring in today's guest, James Ogilvie. James, I hope I did your surname justice there. Was that right? Did I get close?
Close enough. Ogilvie. Yeah.
Ogilvie. Thank you very much. While we're talking about names, OTR, we've got to talk about where that name comes from. I've got an inkling where it comes from. I worked in a bike shop back in the day when we held old leather saddles there. But give us a bit of background. Where's the name come from? OTR.
Yeah. Over or on the rivet. So yeah, those old rivets that used to hold your saddle together on the front. If you're pushing it, that's where you are. You're over the rivet.
Ah, over the rivet or on the rivet racing, of course, because of those old saddles back in the day. Look, James, I want to introduce you to the community. You are the man and the face behind OTR Racing. Of course, I think you've been around MyWhoosh for quite some time in terms as a community organizer. Today, James, we're going to be mainly focused on the Tour de Monde because as some of the community and our listeners know that I sort of did commit myself to be racing the Tour de Monde this time round, which is going to start on the 1st of January. We're going to deep dive into the Tour de Monde today as well. So we'll look at some of those stages, how it's laid out, how you guys in the community can get involved, who can get involved, and so on. But I think, James, while we've got you here, we've got to talk about your other events because, of course, you've got the Get Racing. I think that's the first thing because if you're on the platform, if you're on MyWhoosh and you want to start, Get Racing is a great format to get involved with. So why don't you just give us a little bit of information and background behind your series that you run on a Sunday and a Monday, I think it is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Sunday morning and Monday evening. And it's a race for beginners, absolute beginners, and people for under 3 watts per kilo FTP. That's just so that we can give everybody a gentle introduction into racing, if there's such a thing, without getting discouraged by really strong riders being in the group there with them.
Yeah, it's so up to 3 watts per kilogram, I noticed, and I think the numbers are looking really good now, James, as well on that race series. And it's important to say that you and I we're working together, trying to find ways of, because people are pushing up that category as people are getting fitter, but also more and more people are joining these events. We know that people are starting to get 3 and above. So you and I are in discussion now about, well, what's next? Because, Get Racing 2.0 would be, 3 to 4 watts per kilo potentially,
Yeah,
right?
I think so, yeah. 4 watts per kilo and over 3. Just to give people, like you say, a spillover to move on to. Obviously, they could go to one of our other races on a different day of the week, but if they want to race, Get Racing, then I think that's the natural progression.
Yeah, I think I'm so used to seeing those results on a Monday night, and I think Monday night, if you've not raced on a Sunday or you want a little bit of a shorter race than maybe you did on a Sunday, I think the Get Racing works really, really well there. And I think it's important, James, we'll say to the community at this point, if you are starting to push the boundaries on Get Racing, if you're right at the top of the category or you're starting to creep up over the category and you're riding away from everyone in there, we'll find a way, we'll find that group, move on to that next group, because we want to keep racing exciting and interesting for everybody on the platform. I know, James, you're working with Jakob from MyWhoosh Info to do what you can, that if people have really gone above and beyond and really racing beyond that category sort of limit and that cutoff that you've got in Get Racing, that you are removing those results from the MyWhoosh Racing Info results pages anyway, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I know you guys are looking eventually at stopping the people on entry, but at the moment, that's exactly how we're dealing with it. We're looking at their watts per kilo during the race. I sometimes do a little bit of investigation into their background to look at previous races they've done, and anybody that's above the category, we just disqualify them from that race and from the series.
Yeah, and I think the community can look at their own racing as well. That's what I've always done, and I the way I do it, I want to challenge. You know, I always want to challenge myself and push myself as well. So if that exists, that you can just move on and just challenge yourself a little bit more in the next category, then I think that's something. Because typically the courses are reasonably flat, I think, or flat and rolling on your Get Racing series, James.
No, actually, we do mix it up a little bit. There's sometimes some climbing stages in there as well. We go around Belgium and do some of those sort of more punchy, steep climbs as well. But back to your point on people moving on. I mean, that's exactly what we want to see, right? We want to see people getting into racing, getting fitter, and then getting above that 3, and then we can move them on to different races, maybe eventually onto SRC itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, talking about other races, let's talk about your other format, which is the race and shower in half an hour. I mean, that's not what the event's called, but that I think that's your tagline and theme, because it's Flaming Fast Racing, which is Tuesdays, if I remember.
It is, yeah, Tuesday, 7 o'clock GMT. Yep, shorter courses, flatter courses, all out from the gun, and usually it's kind of 20k and under. This week's a little bit longer, we're at about 22k, but the front guy should maybe finish in about 30 minutes, we'll see.
No, but I think again
44k VH, I think.
Again, yeah. Well, if your courses are pretty flat and you've got a good group, you could soon motor around those routes as well. But again, you've had some really good numbers. I think I saw like 40 plus riders the other day in that event as well. So really, really growing quite well on a Tuesday night with that flaming fast. So yeah, and I guess that works as well if you're working or you've got family, you crunch with time, like I am sometimes as well. Doing that in half an hour is really, really key. You get a great workout. You'll get the excitement of having a little bit of competition in your life as well, which as a 43-year-old male, I still want to get excited by racing as well. If we can get that done on a Tuesday night under half an hour, then happy days for those family guys out there.
Absolutely, mate. I'm the same as well. You know, I'm pushing 55 now, and I still love racing. You know, it's great.
Well, we've rolled nicely to talking about ages there, James. So we've got to talk about the other series that you've got, which is the OTR Veterans. Now, this has been around for a little while now. Friday night, I am going to get involved. I need someone to cover some of my coaching sessions on a Friday, I think, before I can come and do this. But this is age category racing on a Friday night. So how do you split those age categories up? But tell us a bit more about the event.
UCI age groups are split by the normal kind of grouping. So you've got your seniors, which is a sort of bigger block, but then over, I think it's 35, it's 5-year blocks, and it's based on your age, 31st December in the year that you're racing. And the MyWhoosh results team do a great job of giving me a CSV each week, which I then process and put everybody into their podiums on the age group. Similar across the GC of the series as well.
That makes sense. And I think it's important to note that, right? Because all of your events are points-based over a series.
Yep.
And you don't have to do the whole series to qualify. Of course, you can come in and do the odd event. But if you want to qualify for is it 8-week series typically for some of your events that we do? And you've got to race 7 or so?
7 of 8.
7 of 8.
Yeah, 7, 8. And that allows you to have a week off sick, or maybe, you've got a graduation to attend or whatever it is. Life gets in the way, man. So, yeah, we're trying to be flexible on that.
Yeah, fantastic. So points racing, but all scratch races, but points across the finish line, essentially, for those races. 7 out of the 8, absolutely fantastic. James, before we get into the main event, kind of, if I could put it that way, which is the Tour de Monde, just want to talk about how did you get into event organising? How did you get yourself into cycling esports?
Man, it all happened back in the COVID days on the now defunct RGT platform. I just got invited along by a friend, tried a race, loved it, thought I want to start a club. Started a club, thought I want to start doing some races. Did some races, and it all kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah. Also, I mean, for me, I always want to say a big thank you to community organisers and people like yourself. I've been around the cycling esports since 2017. I've been around this space a lot, and I've been around cycling since the year dot. And it's event organisers like you. It's people who are willing to sort of get up, step forward, and organise something that really make these things happen. So I think, Jay, just want to take this opportunity on behalf of myself and the community and, the team here at MyWhoosh as well. Thank you for doing what you're doing and putting these events on. I know it takes time, and it takes time to organise the series, to organise the events, to put the point structure, before and after the event as well. And then, you got to also keep the community happy, and I can see that you're engaged in the community on those social channels on a really regular basis as well. So I'm sure people say thank you on the social channels, but while we've got you on the show, I wanted to just take this opportunity to say thank you as well. On the other hand, James,
Appreciate it.
I'm now going to move on to the Tour de Monde, where I'm going to say I say thank you at the start because at the end of this, I may not want to say thank you, but let's talk about this Tour de Monde. Which is going to be started. We're going to take a look. You've kindly shared the race book with me. People can download and access this race book. Where do they find this, James?
Yeah, that's on our socials. There's a couple of posts on it. I've done a V2. There was a couple of typos that I've sorted out. Go on the OTR Facebook group, Facebook page, and you can find it.
And what's the meaning behind the name, the Tour de Monde? Educate me.
Tour de Monde. No, it just comes from kind of the Tour de France, but instead of France, we're doing the whole world. So Monde is world in France.
In French. See, my French is poor, really poor. So I should have asked you this in pre-show, in pre-production there as well. And you've got a sponsor involved as well. So does that mean there's a bit of a prize rolling around, James?
Oh, there is indeed. Yeah, the lovely Eddie from Rothai Cycle Clothing is putting up winners' jerseys for the GC, the winner of the sprint category, the winner of the climbers, and all up to 6 members of the winning team as well.
Fantastic. So again, points-based. I guess it's important to note that people don't have to do every stage. We're going to look at the stages, but again, if you've got a personal challenge, right? Because how many stages have we got total for this year, James?
12.
12 stages.
But
if someone just wants to come along and do 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever they want to do, they can come. And these are, apart from the team time trial, which we're going to get onto a second, the rest are open events. People can come along and race these, pick up points as they go. Happy days.
Absolutely, they can indeed.
All right, let's have a look at these stages then. So it all kicks off, James. This is really interesting with a prologue, but it's a team-based prologue. I guess you could ride it as an individual if you're not in a team. But the idea is to have a team event, team time trial to start with. 12.4 kilometers, pretty flat this course in Arabia. So this is between the 1st and the 6th of January. That doesn't mean I've got to race every day. I could just race one day with my teammates, James. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. It's a race when you want format. So you register your team members, give us their MyWhoosh email addresses. The lovely team at MyWhoosh will set up a private event for you that you access through the premium events tile. And you just rock up and race it at the time that you said you want to. That allows us to then gather your personal IDs for your MyWhoosh results. And after I've got those, I can then crunch the data and then work out where you finished on each stage for your team and do the points for the team competition from there.
I like that. That makes sense. I didn't get that quite first, but that makes absolute sense now as well. And then we're going to kick off with the main series. So that's going to start on the 7th of January in Marina Valley. Yep. James, it's an individual time trials. We've got time trials back to back. Is this a Tour de Monde tradition?
It is, yeah. We always start off with an ITT. It's a great way of just feeling out the competition. Seeing where you are. If you're at the top end, you can see who your main rival's going to be. Ditto, somewhere around myself, 3.5 watts per kilo. I can see who's going to be my main competition. And that's where the fun comes in, right? You can track those guys and race against them across the whole of the GC. Yeah, no, that makes absolute sense. I'll be, so after that individual time trial, looking down that leaderboard, looking at who we've got to follow, which wheels we've got to follow, and how to maximize those points moving forward. And then we get in to sort of the main scratch races as such. And you've got them all categorized as well. So we've got sprint courses marked with an S, climbing courses marked with a C. There's a really great mix of routes there, actually, which is really good. And the other thing I noticed... Something for everyone.
Yeah, something for everybody. I'm seeing 2 big climbs. I'm seeing, obviously, we've got Jebel Yais, which looks like it might be the Queen stage. That's stage 10. But then you've also got the Columbia. Stage 5 again, so 2 really big climbing days there, James.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean that midweek one on El Limanor, that's a little bit shorter in time wise. Most people front end will be about an hour, maybe an hour 20. We don't like to put too much on riders during the week because obviously you've got family stuff. It's later in the evening, so the big weekend is going to be that double back-to-back climbing weekend. Stages 9 and 10. 9 and 10.
You've clearly. Yeah, you've clearly got the experience of the organising there because you're exactly right. We're both funny guys working as well. That You know, and I guess like 99% of people out there, you've got to balance this with everyday life as well. So having those stages, which shouldn't be any more than an hour, I think for a lot of people, you know, for the vast majority of these courses, then that's pretty manageable as well. And looks like there's a couple of rest days in there as well, just looking at those dates. So how do those rest days work?
Yeah, every Monday, every Friday you get off, so you won't have to do any more than 3 races on the trot. Yeah, there you go. And you can see that quite clearly on the calendar there.
Yep. So, okay, so we've got, we can see from the Wednesday through the 1st through to the 6th, we've got the option to do a team time trial and then the individual time trial. And then we're pretty much alternating sprint climbing with Fridays, Mondays as recovery days. Yeah, so load the weekend with those bigger stages. I think absolute sense there as well. I'm just looking at some of these. I want to look at some of these sprint stages because that's what I'm going to try and target there. Well, the other thing that stands out,
sprint competition,
I say that, I've just noticed that you've got Frostfire Vale just before the Yabui 8 as well, which is a really, I love that route. It's really punchy, up and down, a really challenging route. So those last 4 days are going to be challenging.
And that's exactly how I planned it out, man. I want people to be on the edge of their fatigue when it comes into that final weekend. That's when GC is going to be settled. That's when the climbing competition is going to be settled. And it should be fireworks. Especially on the Sunday.
I spoke about this in the lead-in because we have got this MyWhoosh 300 coming up. I think the MyWhoosh 300 leading up to this event as well. You're going to come at the backside of January. You're going to be sharp. You're going to have some fitness in the legs through January as we start to sort of look towards spring in the Northern Hemisphere. This Tour de Monde is going to sharpen the tools, James.
Yeah, watch out for the races coming off the back of this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I might get involved in Sunday Race Club towards the end of the month on this one for sure. We should have some good legs at this point. Because I think, again, those rest days will be people, you know, most people should be able to get through this with those 2 race days. As long as you're fueling right and rehydrating correctly, you should be pretty good there as well. But yeah, some really great routes. I'm just thinking back to that individual time trial in that Marina Valley. That Marina Valley's got that climb up through the aquarium there, which yeah, not massively. It's actually a really good climb for an individual time trial. It's a good test, I think, for most people there.
Yeah, and, you know, it's a tactical one as well. You know, you've got to make that decision. Do you push really hard up, try and recover on the way down, or do you just, you know, stay on your limit the whole way?
Yeah, but then you've got a short route the day after, that the inner loop for 30 kilometres, but you know, again, pretty flat around there, but there's some sprint segments, I guess, that people might be pushing through at the same time. So, yeah, be a really interesting route. So, time or points in terms of it's all points. So, is there any time classification, or is it all about the points, James?
GC is a classic time setup, and the climb and sprinters competitions are points-based.
Fantastic. And as you said, you can get involved as an individual or a team. If someone like me, James, is looking for a team, and I'll put this out to the community there as well, how do we reach out to you? How do we go about finding a team to get involved with if we don't already have a team?
Yeah, you can drop me a line. You know, we'll try and put something together for you, try and find a place on an existing team, or post on the socials and do it that way. They've got the MyWhoosh Discord. You can post on there, or post on the main MyWhoosh Facebook
Yeah,
page.
absolutely. So you've got the MyWhoosh Indoor Cycling, as you very rightly said, the Discord channels are there as well if you're looking for teammates, but of course you can go and ride this as an individual. James, it's been a real pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us. Like I say, I know you're one of the sort of the OGs, if I can put it that way, of the community event organisers here at MyWhoosh as well. Great to see so many events on. Great to see sort of so much of the community getting involved with these events as well. I know that we've done the team time trials with you in the past as well. And I'll just say this to the community. Hopefully we're going to find a way with James that we can bring back the OTR team time trials moving forward as well. That's James and I are both on that mission to get those moving forward as soon as we can on the platform. James, final question from me. Now, I have committed that I am going to be riding the Tour de Monde. Now, I know you're going to be busy organising, but will you be riding this as well?
I absolutely will. Yeah, I don't miss it. Even when I had COVID a few years back, I still managed to ride through it.
Fantastic. James, thanks for joining us here. As I said, again, big thank you from myself to the MyWhoosh team and also many members of the community as well for putting these events on. If you're a member of the community, don't forget to give James a shout over on those social channels. James, and we'll have you, hopefully we'll see you again back soon on the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Si.
So there we have it. Thank you, James, for coming on the show. James there from OTR. Plenty to get involved with for the community. And I've said, I'm looking for a team. So if anyone wants to join teams with me, about a 4 watt per kilogram FTP right now, then drop me a line because I'm looking for a super strong team to get involved with that event there as well. I've committed now, so I've absolutely got to make sure I do this Tour de Monde. Plenty going on in the community. Don't forget, we love your comments. We love your feedback. Leave your comments down under the YouTube channel. If you're watching this or you're listening to this, should I say, on Spotify or iTunes, again, leave your feedback, leave your reviews. We love hearing that. Don't forget, we've got Zach Neer in future shows. The next show, we're going to have Matt Smithson back, and we're going to talk about all things for the next release, the next update. Plenty of crazy things coming there, which is absolutely awesome. And don't forget, the next season pass will be coming soon in the new year as well. And we'll see you on the road for the MyWhoosh 300. I've been Cy Bradley, and we'll see you back here again for Inside the Ride by MyWhoosh.
On this journey we'll guide inside the ride where we fly. Virtual roads touch the sky. Join us here, don't be shy. Inside the ride, yeah, we hide.